Politician wants cop fired after receiving a ticket. A banger. Okay. Audit the Audit. That's a banger, actually. That's a banger YouTube name, actually. I'm not gonna lie.
Welcome to Audit the Audit, where we sort out the who and what and the right and wrong of police interactions. This episode covers speeding, extortion, and resisting, and is brought to us by WFLA
Speeding,
News Channel 8's
extortion,
channel.
and
Be sure to check
resisting.
out the description below and give them the credit that they deserve. On February 14th, 2022, Officer Julia Beskin of the Sarasota Police Department pulled over Republican congressional primary candidate Martin Hyde for speeding and
Alright,
texting while
Martin
driving.
Hyde.
After Mr. Hyde stops, Officer Beskin's body camera shows her exit her vehicle and approach Mr. Hyde's driver's side window.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, sir? Officer Beskin, Sarasota Police Department. You're on audio and video recording. The reason for the stop, you were observed going 57 and a 40, and you were on your phone texting while you were doing that.
That's
That
two
was-
things. So, going over the speed limit and texting, being on the phone while driving. Can't do that anymore. That's a thing.
At Euclid and Fruitville.
You don't need to point at me, officer.
I'm not pointing at you, I'm pointing in the direction where it was.
I just called the chief, how's that?
Go right ahead, sir.
Dude, he didn't even try playing ball. Homie off rip was like, I'm about to use my power.
Well, you see, I'm what's called a big shot politician. And you are a lowly police officer.
Like, homie off rip. Jesus Christ.
Can I see your license?
You know what
Yes, sir, I do. Can I see
Dude,
your license registration?
the legendary. Do you know who I am?
Yes, sir.
Do you know who I am?
I'm sorry?
Big mistake. Dude, this guy's a hot shot. This guy thinks he's the shit, dude. No way. Homie thinks he's the shit like that. Homie got his shit pushed all the way back. He think he the shit like that. That's crazy. Homie got a chin on top of a chin and he think he all that. That's crazy. Your car's not even clean, my guy. Dude, he was like, do you know who I am? A big mistake pulling me over. 57 and a 40? Who cares? I'm that guy. I could kill a baby in front of you. It don't matter. What a crazy dude. Look at him.
Still have a job to do, sir.
Yeah, for now. What's your name?
Ooh, for
Officer
now.
Beskin, it's going to be on the citation. Can I see your insurance registration and your license, please? Sir, can I have
How
your
long have you
paperwork,
been
please?
there?
7 years, sir. Can I see your registration, please? You're not
No.
going to give me your registration, sir.
You arrest me?
I'm asking you if you're going to produce me with your registration. You don't have it on you?
Look, go call the chief. Tell him how rude you've just been to me. Play with this video.
Dude, what?
You call Marlon Brown. Then you call the mayor.
Okay.
They're not okay, though. I'm telling you what to do.
He's telling
Okay, so
her what to
are you
do.
going to produce your registration? I'm asking you if you have your registration.
You're making career decisions.
Okay,
Why are
sir.
you doing this?
Sir,
Why is
because
you
were
doing
speeding
this?
and you were texting.
Says who?
Why does homie think like everyone's out to get him, bro? Like, it's a normal traffic stop. Literally, you're a politician. You probably have the money. Literally, she's probably gonna hit you like a $200, $300 like fucking ticket. Be like, hey, don't do that again, and then let you off. He's making it more than it is for no reason. I'm surprised this guy hasn't said anything yet. He's just letting it play.
Where's your video?
All right. Hang tight.
When Officer Beskin informs Mr. Hyde that he was speeding and texting, Mr. Hyde demands to see the video evidence. However, officers are under no obligation to provide evidence to
True.
citizens to justify their traffic stops, and Mr. Hyde typically would only be legally entitled to see any video footage that existed if he challenged the
Yeah,
citations
in
and
court.
the video was to be used as evidence against him. Although Section 318.14 of the Florida Statutes requires the government
Oh,
to prove
okay,
traffic
makes sense. This is in
offenses beyond
Florida.
a
Yeah.
reasonable doubt in court, this burden
Sorry,
can be
guys.
satisfied without video evidence of any kind. For instance,
Sorry,
Section
you know how my state is. That's how it is.
316.1906 of the Florida Statutes
You know how it
allows
is.
evidence of the speed of a vehicle measured by any radar speed measuring device to be admitted if it is obtained by an
That's just
officer
the
who
way
meets
it
certain
is.
conditions, such as satisfactory completion of a radar training course and who has made an independent visual determination that the vehicle is operating in excess of the applicable speed limit and obtained the radar evidence when conditions permit the clear assignment of speed to a single vehicle. Video evidence is also not required for an officer to stop a vehicle for speeding. In fact,
That's good
as
to
the
know.
Florida 2nd District Court of Appeals held in the 2008 case of State versus Allen, police officers can stop a vehicle for a speeding violation based on the officer's visual or oral perceptions, and verification of actual speed by the use of radar equipment or speed clocking is not necessary to justify the stop. Because Officer Beskin advised Mr. Hyde of his exact speed, it is likely that she used radar to capture his speed. But even if she had only stopped Mr. Hyde because it looked like he was speeding, it is
She'd still be
likely a
justified.
court would find that she had reasonable suspicion to make the stop.
All right.
Call the supervisor.
Excuse me?
I just spoke to your boss.
Okay.
That's not okay.
You want your paperwork?
Is it your Russian immigrant status that makes you talk to people like this?
What?
10-14-6.
Call the supervisor.
14 dispatch, can you have my supervisor respond, please?
Yeah. And then we'll see who goes.
Then we'll see who
You don't
gives.
want the paperwork?
6142 You don't have a warrant.
Sir, you're going to be
I'm not
issued a
interested in
citation.
Anything you have to say. I'll wait for the supervisor.
You can wait for the supervisor, but I'm going to go through what I need to go through.
No, I'm not interested.
All right, you are going to be...
No, I'm not interested.
Well, you've been already issued a citation for that.
For what?
For failing to produce your registration.
All
right. Sir, you're gonna be issued a citation 57 and a 40 for speeding.
Dude.
A fine of
Okay. Now this guy's being weird, dude. He's being actually a weirdo. Dude, he asked for your license and your registration like 10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. You had all that time to be like, whatever, here you go. You could have been you are allowed. It is your right to talk shit as much as you want in a non-violent way, whatever. Sure. Just comply while you're talking shit. That's literally all you have to do. Like, and homie's like getting mad now that she's going ahead with the citation. Like, come on, dude. Like, you didn't provide it at the time. That's just how it's gonna be.
256 information in the back. You're gonna have an option to plead guilty, an option to plead not guilty, and an option to take a safe driver's course. If you qualify for the course, it will reduce your fine.
I'm a law-abiding citizen, and you're being bloody rude.
You just didn't
If you
abide
decide
by the
to
law
go
at the
ahead
time.
and do the course, just make sure you do a prior to submission of payment, as they do
You think you're winning?
require a certificate of completion. If you sign up for it, you must complete it. Otherwise, they will go ahead and suspend your license.
She's trying to get this job done.
You have 30 days
Why
to
are you
reply.
lying?
Your payment options are on the green form.
Here's a simple question. Why are you lying?
Phone number on the bottom in
When your
case you have any
supervisor
questions. When my supervisor comes, I'll wait for him with you if you like me to. Your citation's over. You can accept them. I will wait, but I will wait on my car. There you go.
Throughout his
There you go.
interaction with Officer Beskin, both before
She said, "I'm done."
and after she issues him citations, Mr. Hyde makes several comments that imply he will use his influence
will
in the
use
police
his
department to get
big
her
dog
fired
politician
if she
powers.
continues with the traffic stop or issues him any
What?
citations. While attempting to intimidate a police officer is inarguably unethical, a court could also conclude that Mr. Hyde's actions violated Florida criminal law. Section
Ooh.
838.021 of the Florida Statutes defines the crime
Corruption.
of corruption by threat against a public servant, which is a felony offense, and states that, quote, it is unlawful to threaten to
Do you
harm
know
any
I
public
am?
servant with the intention to
I'm
influence the performance of
the
any act
Hyde,
or
you
omission
know,
within the
that
official
boy,
discretion
big
of the public
politician
servant in
status.
violation of a public duty or in performance of
Dude.
a public duty. Because Section 838.014 of the Florida Statutes defines the term harm as meaning, quote, pecuniary
Oh, so he could really
or
go to-
other
he could go to
loss,
jail for this one.
disadvantage, or injury to the person affected.
Isn't that crazy?
Threatening an officer's job would certainly qualify as a threat of harm, and attempting to influence an officer not to write a citation would likewise fall under the scope of this statute. Similarly, Section 836.05 of the Florida Statutes states that, quote, Whoever maliciously threatens an injury to the person, property, or reputation of another, or maliciously
Dude, I'm learning more about my own
threatens
state
another to
law
disgrace with intent
than
to
my
compel the person so threatened
state
to do
right
any
at schooling
act
has
or
taught me.
refrain from doing any act against his or her will shall be guilty of a felony of the second degree. However, even though Mr. Hyde's conduct could fit within the definitions of these crimes, it is possible that a court could determine that his statements were protected by the First Amendment. In the 1969 case of Watts versus United States, the
Law is
Supreme
weird,
Court
man. There's so
stated,
much contradictions in
"A
law.
statute such as this one, which makes criminal a form of pure speech, must be interpreted with the commands of the First Amendment."
Because everything's still
clearly in mind.
interpretation.
What is
That's
a
what's so
threat
weird about law
must
is that
be
like
distinguished from
it can
what
be
is
interpreted
constitutionally
differently.
protected speech,
That's what makes laws
while
weird. Like I
extortion
feel like
is
law should
not
be like
protected speech,
cut and
as
dry,
the Supreme Court
and should be
explained in the
very
2003 case
hard
of
to bend
Virginia
unless in
versus
good
Black.
situations.
The First
You know,
Amendment permits a state to ban a quote-unquote true threat, which is defined as, quote, those statements where the speaker means to communicate
but then
a
it's
serious
weird because like
expression
then
of
that breaks the
intent
First
to
Amendment of
commit
free
an act
speech.
of
Like all
unlawful
like
violence to a
a lot
particular
of
individual or group of individuals.
a lot of
The
things.
state of the law regarding nonviolent quote-unquote threats is much less clear. For instance, in the 1987 case of Houston versus Hill, the Supreme Court recognized that, quote, the freedom of individuals verbally to oppose or challenge police action without thereby risking arrest is one of the principal characteristics by which we distinguish a free nation from a police state. And it is easy to imagine how defining statements about getting police officers fired as unprotected speech could lead to widespread abuse and the suppression of free speech. The rights of individuals to express their dissent with police
he going
action
off.
must
Look at
be
these visuals.
balanced against
Okay.
the state's interest in protecting against corruption. And it would be interesting to see how a court would decide this case if Mr. Hyde had been criminally charged.
True.
Yeah, but you have the bad.
Nope.
Exactly what you were doing.
If that
Dude.
is your feeling, you are more than welcome to fight the citations in court.
She's better than me. She's better than me. Listen. Well, if I was ever a cop, at one point I was thinking about being a cop, but I decided not to. You know, I didn't want to be a Florida cop. But, dude, if I was her, I would legit been like, here you go. Guy in his car, me in my car, window up, just lying back and chilling. It's chilling like a villain. Ain't no way would I even continue talking to this dude until my supervisor here. No shot. No shot. And honestly, I'd just be waiting. I'd be waiting on it. Because knowing this guy, if you were to just stop talking to him completely and just ignore him until your supervisor came here, he's going to do some crazy shit. I just want to see what he would do. Look at this guy. Look at this dude. Look at the way he's standing, bro. Like, come on, man. He turned a simple citation into something crazy for no reason. Like
Sarge
no one would
Franchione's-
have batted an eye. Sorry for pausing so much. No one would have batted an eye if he had just taken the citation and went on about his day. Probably it would have been in some news articles like, "Oh, politician caught speeding, blah blah blah." Who cares? You know, probably not. It's not important. But this is gonna end up on the this is gonna end up ruining your reputation. This is gonna end up ruining your reputation. You feel me? Like you're gonna be known as that guy, the one who's gonna abuse his power. That guy. Like if he does this for something as simple as a traffic stop, think about what he's gonna do in a higher, like more stress-filled, like position environment. Like this dude's corrupt. He did some corrupt shit on a simple traffic stop that would have cost him no less than $300 probably. 300, maybe 500. Who knows? Nothing outlandish for him, especially.
Speeding 57 and a 40. Texting while driving. Failure to produce his registration when I asked. He told me I could look it up.
Okay. You know who he is?
Yes.
Right? Yeah, you finally identified him.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, Mr. Hyde. I guess you talked to Sergeant Frangione by the phone?
I did, yeah.
Okay, he's on his way. She requested another unit, so that's why
How do
another
you give
unit.
someone a ticket for no registration when they've got their registration? She's trying to make her Spurs, but it's a big mistake.
It's a big mistake. Oh.
Well, this one is the expired one, but
Well, it doesn't make it. It takes 2 seconds.
yeah.
we're going to make sure that she pays the price for being disrespectful.
Oh my
Mr. Hyde
God.
argues that because he eventually provided a copy of his registration certificate to Officer Beskin, he should not have been cited for refusing
but it's
to present his
expired.
registration, despite the fact that it was expired. However, even if his registration certificate had not been expired, it is possible that Mr. Hyde could still be cited with a violation of the registration statute. Section 320.0605 of the Florida Statutes states that, quote, the registration certificate or an official copy thereof shall, at all times while the vehicle is being used or operated on the roads of this state, be in the possession of the operator thereof, or be carried in the vehicle for which issued, and shall be exhibited upon demand of any authorized law
Boom.
enforcement
Upon demand.
officer.
You didn't
A
do it upon
violation
demand.
of this statute is a non-criminal traffic infraction, and although Section 318.18 of the Florida Statutes allows the clerk of the court to dismiss a case under this statute if the driver can show proof of having a valid registration at the time of arrest, this is not required. Additionally, Mr. Hyde's initial refusal to provide his registration may have violated Section 316.072 of the Florida Statutes, which states that, quote, it is unlawful and a misdemeanor of the second degree for any person willfully to fail or refuse to comply with any lawful order or direction of any law enforcement officer. In the 2020 case of United States versus
Now,
Wilson,
lawful
the
order.
11th
Keep that in
Circuit
mind.
concluded that an officer had probable cause to arrest an individual
Keep that in
for
mind.
violation
Can't
of
be
this
no crazy
statute
shit.
when he
They can't tell you to
repeatedly
start
refused
twerking
to
butt
produce
booty
his
naked
driver's
on
license
the
in response to the
hood of your
officer's
car, you know?
valid order to do so during a legal traffic stop. Similarly, Mr. Hyde's conduct could also constitute resisting an officer without violence, which Section 843.02 of the Florida Statutes defines as resisting, obstructing, or opposing any officer in the lawful execution of any legal duty, without offering or doing violence to the person of the officer. As the 11th
well, damn.
Circuit explained in the unpublished 2017 case of Ryder versus Andrews, quote, the refusal to comply with an officer's request during the lawful execution of a legal duty may constitute resisting without violence.
Yeah, 'cause
in this
you're
case,
resisting.
the court went on
Now,
to conclude that refusing
mind
to
you,
provide
that
license
doesn't
and
mean
registration
that
during
you
a
can't
valid
talk shit.
traffic stop,
Talk,
at the very
talk as much shit as you want. It is your right to talk shit, like I said. But comply while you're talking shit. Comply while you're calling them a piece of shit, you know? And if more people did that, you wouldn't be in these bad situations. You wouldn't, like, he turned something so simple. I've been saying this entire time. He turned something so simple into an actual case.
Police
Like
gave officers arguable probable cause to arrest an individual.
homie just
for
committed
resisting
like
without
corruption.
violence.
He
Given this
resisted
precedent,
multiple
the court would
things
likely conclude
over
that
a
Officer
citation.
Besson would have been within her authority to arrest Mr. Hyde for violating
Jesus.
either of these statutes when he repeatedly refused to present his registration certificate.
Let me go talk to her and see.
Well, it's a waste
Let me go
of time.
talk to her.
She's got it in her head. I know exactly who she is. Grangione told me exactly who she
See, he's just playing along. Like he's like, what is going on?
Might not
Like,
turn into bait.
Proceed to the route.
Stay in your car.
I just want to know if you want me to go back to the station.
You can go to the
Stop
station. Yep, go to the station. Hey, Martin. Yeah, I have to leave it on.
Mr. Hyde eventually took the citations and drove away, after securing a promise that Officer Beskin's body camera footage would be reviewed. On February 22nd, Mr. Hyde issued a public apology for his actions on social media, and has since dropped out of the Republican primary. Although the Sarasota PD
Dude.
has not issued a pub...
because you did that, you were literally in the primary. I wonder if he was even close to winning. He might have been like, what if he was super close to winning? And because he did that, you literally trolled your own self. Imagine that. Like, what if homie was literally close to winning? And then you did that. How dumb are you? Like, it's just so weird. It's so weird to me how you would, like, give up something like that over a simple, like, dispute. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't know. Like, it's like having, like, it's like, okay, it's literally like having the chance to make $1 million as long as you just don't get into a fist fight for 24 hours, and then like 5 minutes later you walk up to a grandma and punch her in the face just because she looked at you wrong. Like, why'd you even do that? Like,
public comment on the incident.
Indeed,
The
like,
spokesperson
what?
indicated that Officer Beskin's actions were not under review. Court records show that Mr. Hyde's speeding and texting while driving citations were paid on February 21st, 2022. But as of the date of this episode, he has not paid the fine for the registration citation. Overall, Officer Beskin gets an A+ for remaining calm and professional throughout the encounter, treating Mr. Hyde with civility and respect despite his hostility, and working to de-escalate the situation in the face of threats to her career. Although Officer Beskin likely would have been within her authority to arrest Mr. Hyde at several points during their exchange, she instead exercised her discretion to try to de-escalate the situation by calling a supervisor and
Which is
waiting
what
at
you're
the scene
supposed to
until
do.
he arrived.
Cops are there
At
to
no point did
de-escalate,
Officer Beskin
not
say
escalate.
or do anything to provoke a response from Mr. Hyde.
You might not hear
She
that all the
maintained
time.
a cordial and
But remember that cops are there to de-escalate a situation. When a cop's come into a situation, they're supposed to de-escalate it. Imagine if a cop were to roll up to a domestic abuse situation and literally start saying, "So what the fuck's up? What the fuck's up then?" It's like, what? It's like, no. They're supposed to calm everybody down, see what's happening, see what crimes are violated, and solve the issue. De-escalate the situation. Solve the situation. You don't solve the situation by hyping up aggression. That's like adding more pieces to a puzzle when the puzzle only needs 100 pieces. That's like adding in random like fucking like edge pieces and all that shit just to trick you. Like, you know? It just doesn't make sense. So, you know, good on her though.
Professional demeanor while Mr. Hyde insulted her, made comments about her nationality, and threatened to have her fired. I commend Officer Beskin for having the courage to carry out her duties without showing bias or favoritism to Mr. Hyde, and for remaining professional but firm when he threatened to use his influence against her. Officer Beskin was able to set aside her ego to de-escalate this situation, and I encourage other members of law enforcement to learn from Officer Beskin's example.
True.
Former candidate Hyde gets an F.
Former
for maintaining
candidate.
a hostile
Former.
and angry demeanor throughout the encounter, attempting to misuse his political influence to avoid being cited for traffic offenses, and potentially committing multiple crimes during
Like,
the
he wasn't even
traffic stop.
on the shit
Much of
yet.
this
You
interaction's
were like
escalation
literally
can
in
likely
the
be attributed to
process
Mr. Hyde's
of being a
ego
candidate.
and
Like,
his
you were a
apparent
candidate
sense of entitlement
for the
based on
role,
his position in the community and his
and you trolled.
contributions to the Sarasota PD. In fact, Mr. Hyde admitted as much in an apology letter he wrote in the Sarasota Herald Tribune, stating that, quote, "I admit that I did expect the reception that I get from most local cops, which is a positive one, because I have fought, in my aggressive manner, on their behalf on everything from officer pay to internal affairs matters. At the point when I realized that my rather silly statement, 'Do you know who I am?' wasn't going to work, I should have shut up and let it go, but I didn't. Unfortunately, instead of restraint and a little humility, it was righteous indignation that ran through my veins." While issuing this apology did require some level of courage and integrity on Mr. Hyde's part, it in no way excuses his attempts
Like,
to
at
abuse
least you
his
owned up
political
to your
sway for
mistakes,
personal
but at the
gain.
same time, you
And this
still did
interaction
it.
highlights the
You know?
conflict that often arises at the intersection
You can say
of
you're sorry, but you
politics
still
and
did it.
policing.
If you can
Let us
show
know if
yourself
there's an
as better
interaction or
in the
legal
future,
topic you would like
then
us
great.
to discuss in the comments
You
below.
know?
Thank you for watching, and don't forget to check out my second channel for even more police interaction content.
Oh, okay. Banger. Cool. That was a good video. I like that. I might watch more in the future. That's pretty good.